This Little Debbie box doesn't contain snack cakes. It has 42 LP records that were given to me for free. You can't get any more thrifty than that. I'm gonna go through it and see what's in here on ThriftyAV. All these albums were generously given to me by a co-worker, Sarah Mason. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to start by talking about Jim Reeves. I have his Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2 here. He's known for his velvety voice and his close association with the Louisiana Hayride. I've never sought out Jim Reeves while looking at music titles, but having Volumes 1 and 2 of his greatest hits, I should get an idea of his performing style. His life was tragically cut short at the age of 40 in a plane crash in 1964. Everybody knows Roger Miller's biggest hit, King of the Road, and that's track 1 on Roger Miller Golden Hits. But he was not a one-hit wonder. He had an extensive catalog. This self-titled album doesn't have such big hits, but I noticed track 1 is a cover, Me and Bobby McGee. I look forward to hearing his version of this song. Meanwhile, back in Abilene, I think they might mean Abilene. They spelled it right on the record at least. Growing up, I knew Justin Wilson as a Cajun cook with a cooking show, but before that he was a comic. And this album is from a performance at the State Fair Music Hall in Dallas, Texas in 1965. This should be some funny stuff here. We have George Jones, 16 Greatest Hits. George Jones is a Beaumont, Texas native. On this album sleeve, he's dressed in his polyester best. This 1977 compilation doesn't have all of his greatest hits. So I'm wondering if he switched record labels. So I wonder if this is the best that was available to Gusto Records in 1977. Here we have Johnny Horton's Greatest Hits. I used to listen to the 8-track version of this when I was traveling with my father. This is definitely the Johnny Horton album to get. This one has been played a lot. The condition of this album is well used. But this album is still very much in print. You can get this on CD. I bet it's also available on streaming. If you've never listened to some Johnny Horton, he tells stories when he sings. This is a treat. You should check this one out. Here we have the Oak Ridge Boys' Bobby Sue. I'm familiar with the title track. I don't know much of the rest of this album. The vinyl is dusty, but it looks to be in pretty good shape, so I'm going to clean this up and give it a listen. I really didn't know anything about Jim Ed Brown, so I'm looking him up on the Wikipedia here. This album says 1971, 1977, so it's a reissue. Pickwick it says, and this is indeed a Pickwick album, so this is the correct sleeve. The vinyl is in VG plus condition, as if it hasn't hardly been played. It's a little bit dusty, but that can be cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and try out some Jim Ed Brown and see what's on here. Riders in the Sky is a Western music group that also did comedy. This is Cowboy Jubilee. Rounder Records. I don't see a date on it, but I'm going to guess late 70s. No, 1981. This one has been well played and has some scratches on it, but it might be listenable. I'll give it a shot. Here we have Mack Wiseman, Greatest Bluegrass Hits. I don't really have much bluegrass in my collection, and that's something I should probably remedy. This compilation is from 1982. The vinyl's dirty, but looks to be in VG condition. I think everyone knows the lead Greenwood song, Proud to Be an American, but he has a much more extensive catalog than this. This is his 1982 album, Inside Out. Vinyl looks pretty good. A little bit dirty, but that can always be cleaned up. Jerome Kern was a composer who wrote songs that ended up on Broadway plays. This is a performance of many of his compositions by Paul Weston and his orchestra. Vinyl is pretty scratched up, but hey, I'll check it out. And here's another Broadway album. This is West Side Story. Music by Leonard Bernstein. At some point, this is the property of Aledo ISD. I hope it wasn't stolen. Here we have Twilight Memories by the Three Sons. They were a pop music group in the 40s and 50s. I'm completely unfamiliar with it, so time to discover something new to me. Peter Nero is a Grammy-winning pianist and conductor. This album is him on piano. RCA 1962. Judging from the condition of this jacket and the condition of this vinyl, somebody played this Burl Ives album a lot, and I probably don't blame them, because Burl Ives is one of the most entertaining singers. A lot of people know him from Christmas specials that air every Christmas, but he didn't just do Christmas music. This is some of his other material. Obviously played a lot. Here we have a country compilation album by Star Day Records. I'm really not familiar with a whole lot of the artists on here. Here's George Jones, I know him. Merle Kilgore, I know more as a songwriter than as a performing artist. Sometimes the stuff I don't know is the most fun to listen to. This country compilation called Country Times has much more familiar artists on it. Johnny Cash and June Carter, Jim Neighbors, Hank Thompson, more Johnny Cash, Roy Clark, Buck Owens, Dottie West. This compilation is from 1978. Visually, this appears to be VG and could use a cleaning, but pretty good condition overall. Here's another country compilation, 30 by 30, 30 great hits by 30 great country artists, Columbia. I didn't realize it, but this is a double album. So when I said I had 42 records here, no, I have 43 because there's 2 inside here. This compilation is from 1968. Johnny Horton, we've discussed earlier, Farron Young, George Jones, Jimmy Dean. He made more than sausage, folks. Patsy Cline, Ray Price, Marty Robbins. There's a lot of famous artists on this album. Here we have Truck Stop Favorites as selected by Miss Country Music USA. Now, I don't know who Miss Country Music USA is, but it looks like she has pretty good taste. This compilation is 1977 Gusto Records. Vinyl has a few light scuffs on it, but looks pretty good. Not all vinyl records are music. This is Dylan Thomas reading A Child's Christmas in Wales and 5 poems. So maybe something like this should be featured on a Christmas video. This says A Music Box Christmas, enchanting 19th century music boxes from the collection of Rita Ford. So this is interesting. They actually took music boxes, recorded them, and made an album out of it. I've never heard anything like that before. This will be really interesting. Vinyl has some scratches, but I can get past that to listen to something this interesting. Here I have 4 albums sold by True Value Hardware, Happy Holidays Volumes 13, 14, 15, and 16. So 4 consecutive years. Last December I did a video about tire store albums. Well, this is True Value Hardware Christmas albums, and these are compilations with famous music artists featured. I want to know how many Christmas albums Bing Crosby released. This one is a Christmas Sing with Bing Around the World, and it has 19 Christmas favorites on this album. Here we have a live double album, Harry Belafonte at Carnegie Hall, the complete concert. Very cool. This is a very interesting compilation. 40 great folk songs recorded for Radio Shack. This is a 4-album box set with stuff that you might not think would be on the same album. And even though it's called folk songs, this includes blues, this includes traditional folk music, this includes 60s folk music, and the vinyl looks to be in excellent condition. This is a little piece of history right here. 40 great folk songs performed by 32 famous artists. I have never really been into pop music from the 40s and 50s, but this Columbia compilation, this is 8 records with popular music from the 40s and 50s. Moments to remember. Again, a little piece of history here. I bet a lot of these songs have never been released on any other format. The vinyl looks to be in pretty good condition. This might be worth digitizing just for the historical significance of these old hits. There was one record in that box that was not given to me, and for very good reason. This is the Aledo High School Choir 1976-1977, directed and produced by Carol L. Stewart. Carol L. Stewart is Sarah's mother, and Sarah's brother and sister were in the choir. Now, Sarah doesn't have a way to play back a record right now, so I have some very special plans on what I'm going to do for her with this record. That'll be in another video. If you enjoyed this video or any other in the Thrifty AV series, please like and subscribe. Thank you to my patrons for supporting this channel, and remember, stay thrifty, everyone.